Okay, good morning. Today is Monday, November 24th, and it is about 5:50 in the morning. And it is about time for me to do my weekly update. So, from last week, I was able to land the job. Today is going to be orientation. Why I'm wearing this shirt that I would normally not wear. I don't like them, they're kind of uncomfortable, but you know, they said business casual for today, and until I figure out exactly what business casual is, we'll see. If I need new shirts, I'll get some new shirts like this. If not, I'll try to use something that is less, I don't know, cumbersome. Either way, um in the process, I was helped by some good people, and honestly, they didn't have to have helped me. They did everything out of their way. They used references, they called in, they asked people, and honestly, it made me realize that there's still that there's a lot of good people out there, and that I need to start making better connections, and just being better to people overall. I want to pass along what I've been given as well to potentially somebody else, help them out as well. From here, we'll see where this goes. I'm not sure. We'll see. Maybe move up in the company, or continue searching along the paths. But at the very least, right now, I have something that's stable. And as long as I work hard and I don't mess it up, I should hopefully be able to continue to have this for a while. Yeah, I'm very grateful for all the help that I received. I'm very grateful for just about everybody that just came out and helped me out, even though they didn't have to. So that's something that really touched me. So other than that, I've been working on the novel. So far, it's been basically continuation of where I was before. The biggest outline of what I want to do with this story is there. I know that I wanted to have 5 parts, each covering specific characters. There's 4 in total, which they all have their own sentence structure in the way that they speak, so you can clearly tell who they are. But that's gonna be down the road. Right now, I'm just slowly developing it. I'm currently focusing on, I guess it will be the 3rd character, and the reason that I'm focusing on them is because they're supposed to be like a scientist, and their work is supposed to be more detailed, and I want to use them as a way to give a better understanding of the world and other characters, other kingdoms, other stuff like that. Just kind of like a world builder kind of character. So he's gonna be the one laying the foundation down. Furthermore, it's chronological order in his journal entries and stuff like that, so it makes it easier to follow along, and then I can get a more detailed account of how things are actually playing out, which I think will really help out and develop all my thoughts along the way. Like I said, right now it's very rough. I want to say I'm in his I'm currently working on his midlife, right? Because his part is going to be broken up into 3 parts. His early childhood, his early, the first entries, right? The first entry, then his kind of like career, in the middle, and then after, once he goes even more extreme, it's gonna be at the end, of his career. And yeah, it's just developing it. At this point, I have laid out how I want his story to play out, what the entries are gonna kind of like have, like a high overview and of a lot of them, but I haven't fleshed them out, which is something that I plan to do in the coming week or so. If everything goes well, maybe this and maybe next week I'll have his story, at least a very rough draft 1, done, and then I can start working on another character. But I'm just going with write it down, do something, work on it, and then come back to it later, reread it, and modify it for every character, so that way I can just get the general idea I want to go with and keep on refining it until it's something good. Once I feel that it's ready, then I'll send it to somebody to review it and give me some pointers and tell me, if what I need to change or modify. But it's fun, and I'm making good progress. Other than that, my game development right now, I went through and refactored the code. the script that would used to be for the main character. It used to be one long script with a lot of functionality, and instead I have broken it down into a state machine with different states for him, or for the character. And now I can go ahead and modify it, add more states, change the functionality without breaking the rest of the code, and just keep things moving along a lot more smoother, which I think will be good. Other than that, it's basically the same functionality as before, for the most part, but now with the state machine, it's going to be more robust going down the road. Furthermore, I started working on the attack, something I hadn't done before. I can reach the different states. I want to do a 3-combo attack, so I can reach the 3 different states, but I haven't done any of the actual functionality where it actually takes damage and stuff like that. I have a general idea of how to approach it. Basically, I will put something around the character, some kind of body, right? So either or a ray cast or an object that's floating behind it, what's it called, collision body, floating around the character, maybe multiple, right? But for starting off simple, we'll use one collision body, and then once the enemy is in that collision body, and if let me just slow down. If I press the attack button, right? If I press attack, and at that very moment that I trigger the attack, the enemy is inside of the collision body's area, then they take damage. Simple as that. The damage I haven't incorporated yet. I have a functionality where I can just take out the character from the screen, just remove it from the working tree, and that's probably what I'm gonna do. For now, just go through and remove it, but later on I can just add a variable that's gonna contain a specific health. Maybe I still haven't decided how much health I want to give the characters, if I want to make it hit based, if I want to make it actual have points, what exactly I want to do yet. So just slowly working the same way as with the novel, just going through it and just working through it and fleshing things out. But I made a first level as a test level where I'm moving things around. All of the other stuff that I used to have, like the characters moving back and forth, the enemies, which will be like Goomba style enemies where they can go in between 2 pillars or 2 objects, and they'll go back and forth indefinitely. That works. If I touch them, I die. That still works. I have functionality for items, right? I can pick up items. Right now I have an egg, sprite, just there, but that can change for anything. And I don't know if I'm gonna do something like a Mario coin system, or if I'm gonna go ahead and do something else like less items, but make them count more. I think that's the route I want to go, but we'll see. Other than that, I've been reading. Right now I've finished, I think since last time it's been 2 books, maybe 3. Yesterday I finished In Cold Blood. Before that it was Aesop's Fables, and before that it was Heart of Darkness. Yes, I don't remember if I finished it before my last review or not, or this one, but either way, those are it. Right now I'm 3 novels away from my goal, and if I continue the way that I'm going, I'm almost finished with the Invincible Volume 2. That will put me at 2. So yeah, I think that I'm doing really well. I think I'm gonna read something short or dumb, for my final book, and then afterwards I can focus for the remainder of the year on a big novel or different novels. I still don't know what books I'm gonna read next. That's something I need to figure out. But I'll either go through the library I have here on physical books, or maybe do one of those spinning wheels, or part of the book club. I think we're reading, one of the book clubs I'm in, we're reading Sherlock Holmes, I think, and maybe I can go through and read one of their stories. They don't seem to be that long, short stories, so either all of those will work. So I can get ahead of, I want to get ahead of the schedule, because I'm gonna need about, I want to say a month, maybe, because one of the books that I'm thinking, some of those books are about 1,000 pages long, so those are big boys. So yeah. Okay, so other than that, I've gone through that, novels, books, game development. What else? I'm not sure what else I need to bring up. Journaling. I've been keeping a steady journaling with putting my thoughts, of all that stuff. Nothing too serious. I've had Interestingly enough, I had some dreams recently, which I normally don't get dreams unless that I, gone through something very traumatic or something that really gets me, like, has me stressed out. I'll get some bad dreams then, but not that often. Or if I do, like, let's say I drink, which I haven't done in a long time, um, then if I drink a little bit, then, it would, give me an easier chance of getting a dream. But recently, this last week and this week, I've had dreams, which is weird for me. Maybe it's a good sign, maybe it's a bad sign. I don't know. I couldn't really understand the dreams. One of them, it was me, and this is weird because it was the day before I was told that I was gonna get this position, right? Basically, I had a dream that I won a competition, and then I was thrown, and then once I won the competition, that I was on a car ride where they were gonna drop me off to go to either the next stage or to go back home or something. And on the car ride, they told me to throw out all the trash that I had collected in the car and all that stuff. And I was collecting all of the accolades, all of the trash, and then it ended that way. Then afterwards, I had a dream that I was speaking to myself, but I want to say something like wearing dark armor, dark clothes, and I'm not too sure about that, which is odd. Um, I don't want to say that it was my shadow because that might be jumping a bit too far. But it was a very weird experience, and whatever it was, like I said, I got my job, the job offer and stuff like that. This week, I had a dream that I was running away, right? That it was me and a girl that I couldn't see her face. It was just the outline, like a shadow, right? And it was just, like one of those, stand-in characters from, where they haven't done the actual design to them, or they just don't, like, they don't have it, I think. And we were running away from something, trying to get somewhere, I'm not sure. And we were running away from other shadow things. Again, I don't know. And it seemed that every single time we made any kind of leeway, it would be, we will hit some kind of obstacle, which is weird. But yeah, that's kind of like what I dreamed. Like I said, it's weird. Normally I don't get them, so just something I wanted to point out. Um, yeah. Other than that, I just want to continue working forward, doing hard work, becoming better, going to my goals, right? Slowly working to them, and eventually I'll get there. But yeah, it's been a good week, productive week, good week, and you know, I hope I do good in this orientation that I'm going to today. Like I said, once I figure out what the actual business casual is, if they even care about how you dress, which I don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Then I can figure out how to dress more appropriately for the occasion. Um, but yeah, other than that, it's oh, this is I guess this is kind of like gonna be a small rant, but well, not a rant actually. Let me go through this first. When I was reading In Cold Blood, I actually found some parts where they went over the psychology or the breakdown of what kind of signs will show insanity or not insanity, and maybe just different types. And I found that interesting. So maybe I'll look into more books with that, more books with psychology in them, maybe some real ones, and just read them. Like I said, I've been wanting to read a Man Looking for a Soul or some more of Jung's work, or somebody else, maybe somebody that has different viewpoints. That way I can get a more holistic view of just ideas and thoughts of psychology, maybe philosophy as well, and just different thoughts, which will help me develop and maybe help out my writing as well. Um, Other than that, there was one thing. There's always one thing that kind of like, this is the rant that I was gonna say. It's not a big rant, but I've noticed, and this is just in general, right? That you will never be able to be please everyone, right? No matter how good you try to be, no matter how kind you try to be, or how you try to be accepting or understanding of people, right? I'm still gonna continue trying to be good and try to understand, but I've noticed that people just most people just wanna talk to you, or they talk to you based on what you might be able to provide for them, or they have preconceptions of you and stuff like that. And it could be for anything. The way that you dress, it's so stupid that by me wearing a shirt like this, somehow I'm more credible than somebody just wearing a regular t-shirt. But it's the whole thing with appearances. I've always hated that, but you know most people won't spend time to actually to get to know anybody. Either way, the reason I was bringing this up is I was thinking, right, uh, now that we are all connected to the internet, we get a digital footprint, right? And if somebody else, let's say the digital detective, was trying to build an idea of who lived, let's say, in a household, right? And they're like, okay, all they had access to was the information that was being passed through, right, through your internet provider, that they were selling your information or something. Um, then they will just get bits and pieces of what you searched up, right? Like, oh, he searched up these shirts, so he must be into whatever, right? Oh, he's buying these books, then he's has this type of mentality or whatever, right? Which that's not the case. Most people, will search up stupid things because they're just, trying to find something funny, or they might be looking at a book because they heard that it was good. They don't know what it's about, but they just want to see an idea, etc., right? And you can manipulate this, right, by providing just what you search up on engines, what you do, and by very carefully controlling what you put through your network, which makes it kind of like pointless. So you get this illusion of the person, right, who they are, and never actually know who they are, but just through that you get an idea. Now, what happens if you add more people to the mix? What about if there's not just one person? Let's say that you have roommates or something, right? Let's say that there's 4 or 5 people or more, in a house, and they're all searching different things. You don't know what they're searching. They don't know what you're searching, etc. Right? And let's say that they're trying to figure out what that one, information about you. You're their target, right? That's what they're trying to figure out. But you don't use the internet as much, but everybody else, in your household might. Then what they're actually seeing is the other people's search history, or the other people's whatever, whatever it may be. And if this gets applied to be used for candidates and other information like that, right? Like, oh, is this a good fit for our company? And they're seeing what your IP is bringing out based on that household, right? They're like, oh, well, this person, such and such and blah blah blah, whatever, right? But it might not even be your search. It might not even be you who they're looking at, per se, which could really impact some people, right? Because you hear a lot of people that are just good. They work hard. They're doing everything they can, and yet, they might live in a household where the people there don't, they're not good people. Their parents might be abusive. They might do some stuff like that. They might grow up in criminal's household or things like that, right? And I think that it's very short-sighted kind of way. The same way as just trying to make assumptions about people instead of just actually getting to know someone. But yeah, that's just a train of thought. But really, it's it was all just to say that for me, it's always been that whatever I say, I be honest. I'm honest, right? That's what I feel at that moment. That's who I am. That's what I try to be. I'm not gonna lie to you. I might be empathetic if you ask me a question, right? Like maybe like you tell me about an opinion on something. I might try to word it a little bit nicer, depending on the person. If it's something that might be a little bit rough, but I'm honest. So that's just the thing, right? And I would I would like people to go ahead and talk to me more than just trying to make an assumption of based on what I see, what I watch, how I dress, what I drive. It's so dumb, right? You're like, oh, they drive this kind of car, then they're probably this type of person. And I don't know. I personally just don't like being just grouped up based on stuff like that, right? Like labels and all that stuff. I'm like, dude, I'm me. If you want to know something, just ask it, right? It's the best way. You want to just yeah, just shoot, just like tell me a question, right? So I don't know. Either way, that was my rant, and yeah, we'll see how I think in the future when I go back, if I go back to look at these, see how much I've grown, see if my ideas are still the same, see if I finished the novel and the books, which I should, right? I'm working hard, but you never know. Life always gets in the way for some, unknown reason. But I have a good schedule. I dedicate time for each one of those things, right? Only 1 hour to the novel, only 1 hour to the game development, 1 hour to each book that I'm reading at most. The comic books don't really count. Those are just in between or late at night when I'm about to go to sleep. So they don't really, they're just kind of here and there. But as long as I keep one book and those 2 projects, that's 3 hours. I should be able to do this even with, maybe other stuff coming in the way, other things that I need to do. And as long as I keep doing it bit by bit, I'm advancing better. I feel that, I won't get burned out, and, slow and steady wins the race. But yeah, that's it for this week. I guess I'll talk again next week to see where I'm at. Okay, later.